Good morning. This is Dr. Merina Paldas, Associate Professor of Department of Industrial Biotechnology. Today, I am going to explain about nanotechnology in the diagnosis as well as the treatment of cancer. So in this topic, we are going to discuss about introduction of nanotechnology, approaches of nanotechnology, that means how to synthesize the nanomaterials as well as nanodevices, importance of nanotechnology as a diagnostic as well as treatment. And as we are concerned about the cancer, we have to know about cancer causes and its various types, stages, and the conventional treatments which is what taking place. Then the current invention, that nanotechnology, which will be used in the diagnosis and treatment in cancer, various nanomaterials we are going to discuss, which will be used for these purposes, and conclusion. So we know that the nanotechnology is the creation of the useful materials, devices and systems with the manipulation of the matters on this minuscule scale. Usually we know that it is around the 1 to 10 to the minus 9 meter, and this emerging field involves scientists from many different disciplines, including physicists, chemists, engineers, information technologists, and material scientists, as well as biologists. So it is an interdisciplinary subject where we need the combination of the physics, chemistry, engineering, and as well as the biology. So nano refers to the 10 to the power minus 9 power or 1 billion. For a comparison, we know that one human hair is about 1 lakh nanometers of thick. So there are two approaches for creating the nano devices as a whole. So scientists refer the two main approaches. One is the top-down approach, another one is bottom-up approach. So the top-down approach involving molding on etching materials into the smaller components. So in this, we'll be taking the bulk material and we'll be cutting short and we'll make into the nanoscale. Whereas the bottom-up approach, it will involve assignment structure atom by atom or molecule by molecule, and this will may prove useful in manufacturing devices in medicine. So if you see that these are the approaches under this category, that physical, chemical and biological methods will come. So mainly top down will include physical and chemical, and bottom up will include chemical and biological. Apart from that, we'll be having some hybrid method where we'll be combining that physical as well as chemical method. So now why this nanotechnology? What is the importance of the nanotechnology in diagnostic and treatment? We know that once the material is coming into the nano size, like it is coming in the atomic level, there will be an increasing percentage of the atoms in the material are at the particle surface. So this one, once it will come to the nanoscale, it will not follow the normal material physics. It will involve quantum effects. So it will follow the quantum physics. So at this critical point, the fundamental properties of the material will get changed. So it will not behave similarly how the bulk was behaving. So the physical and chemical properties of the matter change in the nanoscale. So this changing of the novel, changing of the normal conventional properties, and we are getting the novel unique properties as well as the function, we can use these nanomaterials in the biomedical applications, mainly in the diagnostics, drug delivery, therapy, tissue engineering, as well as the biosensor. So nanotechnology in medical diagnosis covers all field of science for imaging, measuring and manipulating matter at the nanoscale, and has important application in diagnosis, prevention as well as treatment. So medical application of the nanotechnology has the ability to enable early detection, prevention, treatment and follow-up of many life-threatening diseases including cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's and AIDS, as well as infectious diseases. Because if you see that most of these diseases are causes because it was diagnosed in the early stage. So that time that will be going to the final stage, or that will be spreaded throughout the body. So controlling or making the successful treatment is very difficult. So if you can detect in the earlier stage, so it will be more useful, and it will be, we can get the success of the treatment will be high. So nanomaterials exhibit higher chemical reactivity because as it is coming to the nano size, the surface area is increasing, because we know that once for a nanomaterial, surface by volume ratio is increasing. So as well as it will increase the mechanical strength, and it will increase the faster electrical and magnetic responses. So this all the property will make this nanomaterial along with this high surface to unit volume ratio. So nanoparticles can attach to the biomolecules And this will allow to detection of the diseases of biomarkers in a lab sample at a very early stage. So nanomaterials can detect even a small concentration, very minute amount of biomarkers, which will be responsible of various diseases, especially cancer. So because of their small size, nanomaterials can readily interact with the biomolecules and gaining access to so many areas of the human body by passing through intracellular spaces, because the size is in the nano dimension, so it can pass through any type of cells without any harming. So targeting to increase the drug concentration at the desired site of action and increasing the systematic levels of the drug and its toxic effects in healthy tissues. So this is the one of the main criteria why you are using nanotechnology in the diagnosis as well as the treatment, because we have seen that the conventional drugs and all, when it is very toxic and maybe for the normal healthy cells, but it can kill the tumorous cell. So we can't increase as the desired requirement, we can increase the concentration, so we have to give a minimal amount which can the body can tolerate. But in case of the nanotechnology, it can be possible to functionalize this nanomaterial, and it can only accumulate around the cancerous cell. So we can target those cancerous cell, so it will only affect the cancerous cell, not the healthy non-target cell. So as it is targeting only the cancerous cell, we can increase the concentration of our drug, and that will be only putting effect on the cancerous cell, not the healthy tissues. And another one, the advantage of this nanotechnology, it will improve the solubility. And because we know that the nanoparticles, when it will come to the in a very smaller size, it will create a suspension which will be easily it will be carrying by through the blood and all. So constant rate of drug delivery, resulting in zero order release kinetics to maintain a constant therapeutic dose at the site of action. And because it is having the zero order release kinetics, so no drug will be getting wasted. So because of that, because of increased drug stability, it will reduce the degradation and maximize drug action. So how much we are going to input the drug, the output, same the treatment result we can find it. Apart from that, there are so many drugs are there which cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So this is the most hurdle for the several treatment. But as a nanotechnology, like nanomaterials is having the nano dimension, we can use this for drug delivery across the blood-brain barrier also. So there are many interesting nanomaterials and nano devices being developed that have a potential to improve the cancer detection, diagnosis, as well as treatment. So nanotechnology may be able to create many new materials and devices with a vast range of application, such as in medicine, electronics, biomaterials, energy production, and other consumer products. So first we'll talk about the cancer. Okay. So the cancer, also known as a malignant tumor or malignant neoplasm, it is a group of cells which will involving abnormal cell growth. Okay, and it will with the potential to invade or spread to the other sites of the body. So once it will start, initially it will be accumulated, it will be located on a particular site. Once it will go to the final stage, okay, latest stage and all, then it will spread to one organ to another organ. So in that time only it will be very difficult to treat this type of diseases. So these growths are considered either benign or malignant. So each type of cancer, it is unique with its own causes, symptoms, and methods of the treatment. Like with all groups of diseases, some types of cancers are more common than the others. So not all tumors are cancerous, because we know there are two type of tumors will be there. One is the benign tumors, one is the malignant tumors. So benign tumors do not spread to the other parts of the body, and it is not fatal also. But in case of the malignant tumor, it is a fatal and it will cause severe symptoms. So what are the causes? There are so many causes are there. Some causes it will be unknown also. But here I have mentioned some agent which is causing the cancer, and they are called carcinogen. And they are mainly that chemicals. Okay, there are some chemicals are there which is causing the cancer. Diets and exercise, like without not at all healthy diet and without exercise. Some sort of infections also causing cell proliferation, radiation, heredity, physical agent, as well as hormones. So what are the types of cancers are there? If you see that there are over 100 different known cancers are there, which will affect the humans, but the most common ones are breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer. So now we can see that the stages of the cancer. So we have given that first to four stages. So first stage is the earliest stage, which will be going to that the spreading to one location, one organ to another organ, and the final stage is the stage 4. So the stage 1 cancers are localized to one part of the body, and usually it is a curable. And stage 2, where the cancers are locally advanced. Stage 3, it consists of cancers which are locally, this is also advanced stage. And stage 4, where the cancers have often metastatized or spread to other organ or throughout the body. So if we can see the nanotechnology, if it can be detect, even I told you that it can detect the very small, very minute amount of the biomarkers which is responsible for the cancer. So it can be used in the stage 1 itself. It can find the disease at the stage 1 itself, and we know that once it is found in the stage 1, it can be curable. So now we are going to see what are the conventional treatments are carried out for the cancer. So first one is the surgery, because we know that the some part if you get removed, that will be relief of this cancer disease. So surgery can be used to diagnosis also, because we know that when you go for the biopsy, we have to take the some flesh or some parts of the tissue, and we have to go to analysis. So it will not only use for the diagnosis, treat, even we know that in case of the liver cancer and all, if the 20% liver is working properly, the other liver part we can remove, because liver is having the like auto generated like property, so it can grow again the healthy liver. Not only that, in case of the breast cancer, we can remove that particular organ and a particular part, then we can get avoid of this cancer. Even this surgery also will help to prevent some cases. Most people with cancer will have some type of surgery. Next treatment is a chemotherapy. This is a very common, where the chemo will use as a medicine or drugs to treat the cancer, but it will be very painful. It will be there will be so many side effects also will be there. Next one is a radiation therapy. Radiation therapy uses high energy particles or waves to destroy or damage the cancer cell. So when we'll be applying the radiation, it will be not only will be like concentrated on the cancerous cell, the nearby healthy tissue also it will kill. Okay, so we know that when a patient is undergoing this type of fatal diseases, the normal that body only will be giving the support to survive. But in that case, this if you the over radiations or not, it may cause some sort of problem. So now we'll come to talk about the nanotechnology in the diagnosis of the cancer. So nanotechnology can be used for better cancer diagnosis. One of the main optical nanoparticles that we can allow to better cancer detection. We have that quantum dots, we have the gold nanoparticles, where we'll be using this that materials to detect, because this nanomaterials only can accumulate around the cancer cell. There are classical methods that are used in the diagnosis. They have some limitations, and that limitations can be overcome by using the nanotechnology. Classified methods such as the X-rays, tomography, or mammography that require using mutagenic agents on cells that also causes cancer, because this chemical, I told you that chemical also one of the agent which is causing the cancer. To eliminate this concern, optical nanoparticles which will be used for the diagnosis diagnosis of this the cancer. This technique works with the special dyes to interact with the tumor cells, and optical nanoparticles can be detected. So nanotechnology has brought a revolution in the cancer treatment. It has a capability to detect even a single cancerous cell in vivo and deliver the highly toxic drug only to the targeted cancer cell. So the nanotechnology used for the targeted drug delivery for cancer treatment. So that's what it is mentioned as a targeted drug delivery. So it only will work on the targeted cancerous cell, not the healthy or non-cancerous cell. So the drug delivery refers to the approaches, formulations, technologies, and system for transporting a pharmaceutical compound in the body as needed to safely achieve its desired therapeutic effect. Like for example, protein and peptide drug have to be delivered by injection or a nano needle. So not only will be sending that nanomaterials, some protein or peptide, which will be coming with the combination of the nanomaterial, that also can send for the treatment of the diseases. So nanotechnology in the treatment of cancer, if you see that, we have to talk about the drug targeting. Okay, targeted drug delivery is a method of delivering medication to a patient to increases the concentration of the medication in some parts of the body relatives to the other and reducing the side effect. Okay, so that's what, as it is not going to the healthy cells, because healthy cells, the cells that has to be survived when the patient is having cancer, because the healthy cell is giving the support to the to recover the body. Okay, so in case of, if it is affecting by this type of that chemotherapy or radiation therapy or some sort of medications, it may not be recovered that body. So there are two approaches for the drug targeting. One is a passive, one is a active. So in case of the passive drug targeting, we can see that the accumulation of the drug is at the particular site due to physicochemical and pharmacological factors, where in active drug targeting, it will employ a specific modification of the drug as well as the drug carrier nanosystem. Because sometimes what will happen, we'll be using drug conjugation with some nanoparticle. Will be surface functionalized, the nanomaterials will be there, in the drug will be attached, and that drug will go and will be recognized with the active agent. That will be selective, will be affinity for the recognizing as well as the interacting with the specific cells, tissue or organ in the body. Because we know that the cancerous cell will be having the epidermal growth factor overexpressed, okay, compared to the normal cells. So if that particular growth of receptor there, if they produce one ligand, okay, one protein, if you attach to the nanomaterials, it will only will bind to the cancerous cell. Even it will bind to the single cancerous cell. Okay, so once it will be binding, like it will go to the cancerous cell and it will bind there, and with the help of some like either it is a pH, because we know that cancerous cell having the more pH acidic environment than the normal cell. So in the using this that property, we can use the nano device or the nanoparticle in such a way that it can in the lower pH it can release the drug, like it may be a concentrated drug to only the cancerous cell. So there are different type of nanomaterials are there which will be used for the diagnosis as well as the treatment. Okay, so here we are given some example of this, like a nanopores, nanotubes, nanoparticles. Especially there are variety of nanoparticles will be there, but the gold nanoparticles will be having the specific that optical properties, and magnetic nanoparticles will be knowing that it is having the magnetic properties. So handling of these particles will be more easier. And dendrimer also you can use for the diagnosis and treatment, liposomes, nanoshells, quantum dots, then a nanosensor. Then we can use a nanotechnology on the chip, like that is called as a nano chip, and or lab on a chip, that is called the microarray. So it will be using as a nano biosensor, then nano robots. So first we'll talk about the nanopores. So these are surface perforated with holes and in nano dimension. Like it will be like a pore forming protein or as a whole in synthetic materials such as silicon or graphene. So this type of nanopores, so it will be available like biological nanopores will be there, or solid state nanopore will be there. In case of the alpha hemolysin, that we can get the protein nanopore will be there. So the dimension will be around 1 to 2 nanometer. Even we can prepare like this alpha hemolysin nanopores are all biological nanopore we can extract from the bacteria. And in case of this synthetic nanopore, we can prepare from the silicon or graphene sheet using the nanolithographic techniques. So the scientists believe that nanopores, like a tiny hose, that allow the DNA to pass through one strand at a time. So only the single stranded DNA can pass, not the double stranded, and which will make DNA sequencing more efficient. So as the DNA pass through a nanopore, scientists can monitor the shape and the electric properties of the each base or the letter on the strand, because that once I'm talking about when I'm talking about the biological nanopore, there will be protein. So protein means it will be surrounded with the so many amino acid around the pores. So once a particular DNA base, like it is maybe adenine or that guanine, it will pass through that, there will be electronic interactions. So interactions between the amino acids and that particular base. So usually when the amino acid will be like, usually when the DNA will be not passing, they'll produce some sort of current if we attach this biological nanopore with the electrical circuit. But once we'll be sending the DNA, single stranded DNA, they will be producing some sort of current. So once it will be producing the current, by seeing the current, we can find out the what type of base, because always whenever the RNA will pass through this pore, it will show similar type of current. When it will pass the guanine, it will also produce the same type of current. By seeing the current intensity, we can find out the DNA sequence. That is definitely for a single strand. So once we know that the single strand DNA sequence, automatically we can find out the complementary strand. So because these properties, they are unique for each of the 4 bases that make up the genetic code, scientists can use the passage of DNA through a nanopore to translate the encoded information, including errors in the code known to be associated with the cancer. So we know that there are so many causes on cancer, in that one, that the mutations in the DNA. So once the normal DNA is passing the electrical signal, what will get, the electrical current what will get, when it is a mutated DNA is passing, will be not getting the same sort of sequence, same sort of current. So by that we can diagnose the patient is having cancer or not. Next, we'll talk about the nanotubes. So it is another nano device that will help the identify the DNA changes associated with the nanotubes. So nanotubes are carbon rods about half the diameter of a molecule of a DNA that not only can detect the presence of altered genes, but they may help researchers pinpoint the exact location of those changes. So just you can see that DNA like a nanotube is made of the carbon rod, actually carbon 60, which is made of the graphene sheet, and the graphene sheet will be rolled up and it will make the tube. So dimension will be around 1 to 2 nanometer, but that length will be around some micrometers, and this will be can be used to detect the particular location of the mutation. So to prepare DNA for the nanotube analysis, scientists must attach a bulky molecule to the regions of the DNA that are associated with the cancer. So they can design tags that seek out the specific mutations in the DNA and bind to them. So once a mutation has been tagged, the researchers use a nanotube tip resembling the needle or a record player to trace the physical shape of DNA and pinpoint the mutated regions. The nanotube creates a map showing the shape of the DNA molecule, including the tag identifying important the mutations. Since the location of the mutations can influence the effects they have on a cell, these techniques will be important in predicting diseases. So next we'll talk about the nanoparticles. So a nanoparticle are submicron size, that is the nanometer size polymeric colloidal particle with a therapeutic agent of interest encapsulated within their polymetric matrix or adsorbed or conjugated onto the surface. Because as a nanoparticle in a smaller dimension in the nanoscale, we can surface functionalized. Why you have to go for the surface functionalization? Because once we do the we can attach so many molecules, that is called the surface functionalization. So once we attach these molecules as per our requirement, it can only go to the targeted cancer cell. So we told that it is a targeted drug delivery or targeted system. So it will, as we have functionalized the proper antigen, specific antigen or specific ligand, if you can attach, it will go there and only it will bind there. So it is a most useful apart from the other particles, and it will be highly versatile system. Okay, it will be overcome physiological barriers, and as it is a size is very small, it can penetrate with any type of cell membrane, any type of cells where the conventional particles, microparticles can't penetrate. And it will guide the drugs to specific cells, and it will control the release pattern of the drug and the drug level for a longer time. So it is always preferable for any type of treatment, prolonged drug delivery system, or it is called as a sustained drug delivery system, because the nanoparticles will be coated with some polymeric matrix. So in presence of that particular acidic environment for the cancerous cell, the drugs or the shell or the polymetric matrix slowly can release the drug. So there will be long time treatment, but even though the long time treatment, even though the concentration of the drug is more, it will affect will be better. So the anti-cancer drug-loaded nanoparticles are mainly concentrated in the Kupffer cells in liver. So nanoparticles will be the spherical branch polymers that is silica coated missiles or the ceramic nanoparticles which will be cross-linked with the liposomes can be targeted to the cancer cell. These are the most applications will be there, this type of nanoparticles. This is done by the attaching the monoclonal antibodies or cell surface receptor ligand that will be complementary to the particular cancerous cell that bind to the specifically to the molecules found on the surfaces of cancer cell, such as the high affinity folate receptor and luteinizing hormone releasing hormone like LHRH, or molecules which will be unique to the endothelial cells that become co-opted by malignant cells. So which will be very specific for the cancer cell, that type of molecule only we have to take, that type of molecule we can functionalize on a nanoparticle surface. Even though we will be functionalizing, the size will never increase because the nanoparticle also will be in the smaller size. So based on the what type of application, which cell we are targeting, so based on that we have to find out the nanoparticle size as well as the shape as well as the functionalization. So once we have finalized the functionalization, shape and size, based on that we have to finalize the protocol. So then only we have to go for the either top down method or the bottom up approach. So these nanoparticles are rapidly taken into the cells. So next we'll talk about the under this nanoparticle category, gold nanoparticles. So gold nanoparticles are attached onto the DNA or an antibody or any other molecules, and it will act as a fluorescent molecule which will assemble on a sensor surface only in the presence of the complementary target. So these are particularly good levels for the sensor because a variety of analytical techniques can be used to detect them: optical absorption, fluorescence, Raman scattering, atomic and magnetic source. So these can be used to detect the microorganisms and coupled replace PCR and fluorescent tag. Raman active dyes are also attached to the DNA, which attach to the gold nanoparticles. Since Raman band is narrower than the fluorescent band, it allows more dyes to detect more target quickly. This particle easily prepared and they have very low toxicity. So that is a more advantage in the gold nanoparticles. They are biocompatible. So even though in vivo system, it will not show any type of side effect. Next, we'll talk about the nanoparticles. The magnetic nanoparticles are employed in the multiple disciplines such as the biosensor, magnetic research or imaging, and the nanoelectronics also. So the magnetic nanoparticles are a class of nanoparticle which can be manipulated using magnetic field. So such particles commonly consist of the magnetic elements such as iron, nickel, and cobalt and their chemical compounds. So what we'll do here, even though we'll be like injecting here in case of the gold nanoparticle, we have seen that we have to functionalize, but in case of the magnetic nanoparticle, we no need to functionalize. Even without functionalization, we can bring this nanoparticle into the target cell, to the cancerous cell. So if you know that in the body which part, if you can diagnose this initially, that body which part is the cancerous cells are there, just you have to inject this magnetic nanoparticles, and we have to bring the magnetic field near the effective organ. So once you pick the magnetic field near the effective organ, all the magnetic nanoparticles will be accumulating here. Okay, and this magnetic nanoparticles can be used to level the specific molecule structures, microorganisms. So these level magnetic nanoparticles get change their magnetic field when come in contact with the analyte, and which is detected by the sensitive magnetometer. So once these magnetic nanoparticles we can accumulate near the cancerous cell, what we can do that we can continuously change the magnetic moment, magnetic field. So once we are changing the magnetic field direction, the magnetic moment also will be changing this particle. So continuously we know that for a magnetic particle, one north, one south pole will be there. So if you are continuously changing the magnetic field, the north will come again, will go to the south, south will come convert to the north. So the continuous this changing of the movement, the particles will be getting heated. This heat can be utilized to treatment the cancer, because as I told you that these magnetic nanoparticles only will be accumulated near the cancerous cell. So if you continuously change the magnetic field, the magnetic, because of the changing of the magnetic field, magnetic particle will get heated and only the magnetic particle associated cell will die. So this will be used for the thermal treatment. These nanoparticles, magnetic nanoparticles, can be used for the detection of the circulating cancer in the blood and to detect the microorganisms such as the bacteria, which will be useful for curing serious infections. So ferrofluid, we know that it is called as a magnetic ink, which will be consist of magnetic core surrounded by polymeric layer coated with antibodies for capturing the cells. They are colloidal when mixed with the sample containing the target cell. Antibody conjugated to the magnetic core bind to the silver associated with the target cells. So for example, it will be used for the telomerase activity in the biological sample. It is also used for magnetic resonance imaging, because we know that in case of the MRI they are using the some sort of chemical dye which is not good for the health because it will show some sort of side effect. But in that case, magnetic particles, it will give the fluorescence that color, but it will not show any side effect. So the super paramagnetic iron oxide nanoparticle, that is called the spion, are made of the iron core and coated by either inorganic materials like silica or organic materials like phospholipid, natural polymers such as dextran or chitosan. So these spions are a versatile agent for early diagnosis of cancer, atherosclerosis and other diseases. Moreover, spions are used as contrast agent for the MRI imaging as an in vitro application in biopsies by means of a vehicle for the detection of biomarkers. So when the spions is used in the biosensors, it improves the sensitivity and the selectivity of the diagnosis. So next we'll talk about the dendrimers. So these are spherical polymeric molecules which is formed through the nanoscale hierarchical assembly process. These are the macromolecules, which is characterized by its highly branched 3D structure that provides a high degree of surface functionality and versatility. So dendrimers have been referred as the polymers of the 21st century. So dendrimers are highly branched. They may be on the star-shaped molecule with the nanometer scales dimensions. So dendrimers are defined by the three components. They will be having the central core, or central core will be there, and interior dendritic structure will be there, that is called the branches, and there will be an exterior surface will be there where we can attach the functional groups. So based on the complementary to the target cell. So the varied combination of these components is the product of different shapes, sizes with shielded interior cores. So this shape gives them vast amounts of surface area to which scientists can attach therapeutic agents or other biological active molecules. So these dendrimers also biocompatible. They will not create any side effect inside the body. So the applications of the highlighted in recent literature, including drug delivery, gene transfection, catalysis, energy harvesting, photoactivity, molecular weight as well as the molecular size determination, rheology modifications, and nanoscale science and technology. So next we'll talk about the liposomes. So we know that liposomes are spherical, self-closed vesicle structure which is composed of the lipid bilayer and which will enclose a part of the surrounding solvent into their interior. So the liposomes are most often composed of the phospholipid, especially phosphatidylcholine, and but may also include other lipids such as egg phosphatidyl ethanolamine, so long as they are compatible with lipid bilayer structure. So liposomes can be prepared by disrupting biological membranes such as by sonication. So these liposomes can be used as a vehicle for administration of the nutrients and the chemotherapeutic drugs. It can be incorporate both hydrophobic and hydrophilic drugs in them. So liposomes are used in the diagnostic imaging by using the contrast agent. Lipoxes are the nanostructure. Actually, they'll be having the net positive charge, which have the cationic liposomes with polyanionic plasmid DNA. So it can be easily attached with the negatively charged the DNA. It is used in the gene targeting in liver. A liposome design may employ surface ligands for attaching to the unhealthy tissue. Next, we'll talk about the nanoshells. Nanoshell is a type of spherical nanoparticle or a minuscule bead consisting of dielectric core, which is covered by a thin metallic shell, usually gold-coated silica. By manipulating the thickness of the layers making up the nanoshells. So these gold nanoshells are shuttled into the tumor by the use of the phagocytosis. Phagocytes engulf the nanoshells through the cell membrane to form an internal phagosome or macrophage. So scientists can design these beads to absorb the specific wavelength of light. The most useful nanoshells are those that absorb near infrared light, which can easily penetrate several centimeters of human tissue. So this infrared that light, it will never affect the normal healthy tissues. These are used for the early detection of cancer and its treatment by embedding drug containing tumor targeted hydrogel polymer and injected in body, which when heated with the laser, that means infrared, and thus release drug at the tumor site. The absorption of light by the nanoshells creates an intense heat that is lethal to the cells. Next, we'll talk about the quantum dots. A quantum dot is a nanocrystal. This also will be around 2 to 10 nanometer dimension, which will be made of the semiconductor materials, okay, and which can be excited or stimulated by a light source at any wavelength from infrared to visible to ultraviolet. So they can be specifically attached to the biological materials such as cells or protein and nucleic acid, making them powerful tagging agent. To detect cancer, scientists can design quantum dots that bind to a sequence of DNA that are associated with the disease. So the advantages of the quantum dot technologies are highly sensitive. Availability of the IR enables whole blood assays, fluorescence is stable, highly resistant to degradation. So they are used for the diagnosis of genotyping, white blood assays, and multiplex diagnostic. But there are challenges for the quantum dot that it is having a oily surface. Next, we'll talk about the nanosensors. Nanosensors with the immobilized biodisruptor port that are selectively for the targeted molecules have nanobiosensor. They integrated onto the technologies such as the silicon chip or biochip or called protein chip. So payable nanosensor is the most common, that is called probe, encapsulated by biological localized embedding. So payables are isolated nanoscale devices for intracellular chemical analysis. Its sizes can range from 20 to 200 nanometer in diameter. It is used in early detection of cancer. Next one, the surface plasmon resonance technology, where the optical biosensor uses this SPR technology for diagnostic by using this technology. It is an optical electrical phenomenon where it is involved the interaction of the light with the electron of the metal. Photon of light transfer its energy to group of electron, that is called the plasmon, on the surface of metal. Next one is the electronic nanobinder. It works by electronically detecting the binding of a target DNA molecule to a sensor on a microchip. Next, the nanochip, one of the most common technique used today to analyze the DNA sequence of the hybridization or the pairing of the separated strand of the DNA with complementary DNA strands. This is known as a probe. So currently DNA chip called DNA microarrays are used to analyze the DNA. Passive means non-electronic technologies can be slow, tedious, and prone to errors because of the non-specific hybridization of DNA. So that the company called Nanogen, they have been developed product called nanochip, which will employ the power of an electronic current that separates the DNA probe to specific site of the array based on the charge and the size. So once these probes are on specific site of the nanochip, the test sample, usually will take the blood, can then be analyzed for the target DNA sequences by hybridization with these probes. So the DNA molecules that hybridize with the target DNA sequence fluoresce, which is detected and relayed back to an onboard system through platinum wiring that is present within the microchip. So next we'll talk about the microfluidics or lab on a chip. So the newest technology within the nano diagnostic involve microfluidic or the lab on a chip system in which a DNA sample is completely unknown. So the idea behind this kind of chip is simple. The combination of the numerous processes of the DNA analysis are combined on a single chip. So it will be it is a single chip composed of a single glass and the silicon substrate. So this will make the process more faster and more efficient. The device itself is composed of a microfabricated fluidic channels, heaters, temperature sensors, electrophoretic chambers, and fluorescence detector to analyze the nanoliter size DNA samples. So these devices is described as a capable of measuring aqueous reagent and DNA solutions, mixing the solutions together, amplifying or digesting the DNA to form discrete products, and then separate and detecting those products. Using a pipette, a small DNA containing solution is placed on the fluid entry port and a reagent containing solution on the other port. So the capillary action draws both solution into the device, but hydrophobic patches positioned just beyond the vent line in each injection channel stop the samples. Next, the invention is the nanorobot or nanorobotics. It is the emerging technology field creating machines or robots components are at or close to the scale of nanometer. So the nanorobots can be used in the biomedical field. So nature already provides nanorobot in the human body. We know that is lymphocyte, fibroblasts, neutrophils. Nanorobotics will allow doctor to perform the direct in vivo surgery or individual human cells. Its exterior shape consists of the diamondoid material to which may be attached that artificial glycolipid surface that minimizes the fibrinogen absorption and the bioactivity, ensuring sufficient biocompatibility to avoid immune system attack. So a Korean research team has successfully developed a bacteria robot that can diagnose and treat the cancer. And this bacteria-based robot is expected to be utilized to develop new treatments for cancer and various micro-robot or nano-robot for medical purposes in the future. So bacteria robots are made up of bacteria. It will be around 3 micrometer size microstructures filled with the anti-cancer drugs. Genetically modified non-toxic bacteria move inside tissues or blood with flagella and find tumors by pushing microstructures and targeting certain drugs secreted by the cancer cell. Upon the arrival of the bacteria robots in the tumor region, anti-cancer drugs that come from the microstructure are sprayed onto the surface of tumor cells. So as a conclusion, we can say that conventionally there are many innovative and groundbreaking techniques have been developed in order to treat the cancer. But these approaches has its own series of undesirable side effects that are both dangerous and damaging to the overall health of the patient. So there have been significant improvement largely due to breakthroughs both in the bottom up as well as the top down technology. Different type of cancer cells have unique properties that can be exploited by nanoparticles or nano devices to target the cancer cell. So the nano devices will make early detection, prevention and treatment with a high degree of accuracy and is possible that is effective and can be made it safe.